Welcome to today's episode, and your guest is me. I'm doing a solo episode, and a number of people have asked me to do more solo episodes, and I will do that. This one, I'm not exactly sure where it's going to go. I'm feeling very drawn to talk to you about some things that have been going on in my life in real time and just how I've been kind of navigating and what I've been doing around it to be able to help others who might be going through something similar. And, there might be, I know there are women that will relate to this because when I'm coaching clients, a lot of them are sort of sharing very similar experiences. So I'm not exactly sure. I feel much more comfortable when I'm chatting with others because we can kind of bounce off each other. I'll be bouncing off myself or off the walls, maybe. Hopefully you're not as we go through this. But picture this. Have you ever felt just really overwhelmed with life and that it just feels wobbly? When you tend to be having a lot of thoughts, a lot of worries, that overthinking, the busyness of your mind. Have you ever experienced that feeling when anxiety starts to, to creep in and that it takes a toll on you? And it's kind of this low level anxiety. Not any one thing has particularly triggered it, but probably a whole lot of little things that are adding up, that you just have this undercurrent of feeling anxious about things. Does this resonate? That you feel exhausted, like just exhausted, and you start to either get a niggly little cough or starting to feel just a bit unwell, and your body's sending you some signals that you maybe need to slow down. And sometimes you pay attention to those signals. Maybe sometimes you don't. And it's kind of just like not any one thing it's not like there's been this big significant event that has gone, oh, yeah, that's why I'm feeling like it. It's just this sort of things are out of sorts. Well, that's been me. That has been me the last little while. I can't even put a definitive time frame on it, but it's kind of become more acute in the last couple of weeks. And so that's been a personal account, kind of all of those things that I've just shared with you, that feeling of overwhelm, the busyness of my mind, just not being able to shut my mind down, this sense of worry. And in all honesty, it's been a sense of dread around things. It's been building into that sense of dread. There's been this kind of just anxiousness and exhaustion. Oh my God, just exhaustion. And it's almost felt like there's been this intricate game of Jenga Tower. That's my Jenga Tower. If I pull one of those rods out a little bit too quickly or not at the right angle, the whole Jenga Tower of life could crumble. That's how I've actually felt. And it sort of came to a head, I would say, only a few weeks ago. There was only a few weeks ago. I got this really gammy bloody cold sore on my face that just came up out of seemingly nowhere. And it was really painful. I didn't feel, when I get a cold sore, it's normally if I've been sunburnt or if I'm feeling run down. I certainly wasn't sunburnt, and I wasn't feeling, even though I've described all those things to you, wasn't feeling particularly run down, but this big gammy cold sore came up, and it was weird. It had blisters all down my face that were different, and it was on the top part of my lip as well. And I went to the chemist to get some normal medication for cold sores, and they said, oh, that looks really that she actually said to me, she said, "Oh, that looks weird." She said, "I think it could be shingles. You should go to the doctor, because if it's shingles, it's contagious," which I'm not sure shingles is it. I'm not sure. And it was kind of like a bit of this saying, "Oh, you need to get that checked, because that's not a normal cold sore." And so I went to I did go to the doctor. I don't normally, that's not my normal go-to, but I did go to the doctor, had it checked out. And, long story short, it wasn't shingles. It was just this really just rogue cold sore. And it was making me sick. I didn't feel sick. It was making me feel sick, if that made sense. So that was sort of start of the stuff that I was noticing, that things were like, oh, actually, maybe I am more run down than I think I am. And I just felt exhausted. And what I did was it felt different to normal kind of just life, that, I go through bits where I feel tired. Absolutely. I'm busy, and, I can take a step back and I get out of my funk relatively quickly. You've heard me say this before. I have I have my 5-minute pity party or my 5-hour pity party. It's never a 5-day pity party. I generally can get out of things pretty quickly, but this felt different. And I wanted to sort of explore what was going on. And so I turned to the journaling. Journaling really helps me to get insight and clarity and connect with my guides at a level where I can really dive deep. And I just wrote in my journal, I don't feel like myself. I feel flat and exhausted. I feel exhausted. I am exhausted. I felt exhausted before. Why is this different? I've been able to get myself out of it before. It feels harder to do that. And then I went through and I was sort of listing a whole lot of things about where the exhaustion was, over the last couple of, and I would say the build up to my dad passing away 2 years ago, maybe the 18 months, the 2 years leading up to that was really, really stressful for myself and my family. It was really stressful. And then when Dad did pass away, I was kind of anticipating that there would be some relief around the stress, and there wasn't, because there was a whole process of winding up his estate and his house, and that also was really stressful. So there was another year of that was the year before last, whatever that was, 2021. That was also really stressful, and I didn't feel like that there was a respite of that anxiousness that I had been feeling. And then things were starting to get good 12 months ago, where I was starting to sort of feel some relief around that. And then almost 12 months to the date, kind of, we got news that John's mum was not well and that she had cancer. And then the next 6 months were really, really stressful, really stressful around her decline. And she lives interstate. So we would get a phone call from the medical staff saying, we don't think she's going to make it for, after the next couple of days. So John would just drop everything. He would get on a flight. He would fly back to Adelaide, and he would be with his mum. And then his mum would, and it was beautiful, she would pick up and he would stay there for, a week or a couple of weeks. He would come home. And then after a couple of weeks, we'd get another phone call saying, we think this is it. And that was kind of a 6 to 9 month period that went on. So that was really, really stressful. And then she did pass away. And that's only been, only a few months ago that she passed away. So that was stressful. There are some things with my work. Some of my major contracts that I've been I've had for 10 years were coming to an end this year. And I knew that. I knew that they were coming to an end, and I was kind of okay. Well, I thought I was okay in my mind about it, but now I'm in the month that those contracts end. And it was kind of like, oh gosh, that's what am I actually going to do? Because my income is not where it has usually been. And there's there's a whole succession plan around that. But now that I'm in the middle of it going, oh, actually, this is really happening. So there was that. There was, just other little things kind of going on. And so my journal entries, when I go to my journal entries, the next one I said, I'm drained, I'm exhausted, I'm fucked. I'm really, really fucked, and I feel out of balance. And then I just wrote pages of the things that I was feeling. Like I just did a complete offload of how I was feeling. That's what I usually do. And it wasn't until I was taking Boston. So Boston, oh my God, Boston, there's also stress there. Boston's the new adopted dog that we've had for 6 or so months. And he's settling in okay, but he's still really anxious around things. So there's kind of this anxiety every time I take him for a walk that he's going to snap or do something with other dogs. So anyway, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I was taking Bosty for a walk. And it usually just, it's usually, aside from that little bit of stress about if we see another dog, it's usually just a beautiful time, first thing in the morning, that we go for a walk. He's a really prancy dog. He loves to prance. And there's a stretch where it's an off-leash area, so I can take him off the lead, and I can see probably about 200 meters in front of me. I can see behind me, it's clear. So if there's anybody else or any other dogs around, I will put him back on the lead, because he has been a bit snappy with some other dogs. And anyway, this morning, a couple of weeks ago, I was walking and got to the end. We turn around, and normally he comes in front of me, but he didn't, and I was just oblivious. When I turned around, oh my God, there was a guy there with another dog that Boston had run up to. And the other dog was one of the ones that Boston doesn't. There's some dogs particular breeds that he does not like. And of course, this dog was one of those breeds. And I just went into complete over the top, crazy woman. I would say panic. Looking at it now, I would say panic. And this poor guy, I don't think he knew what had hit him, because the dog had come up, and Boston was actually okay. I think I was the one that was, I was crazy lady. I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, he'll be okay. Like, just stand still. It'll be all right. Like, I'll get him. Just don't make any sudden moves. Just don't. And this guy's going, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I've got him. It's all right. And I could feel my heart, that feeling of my heart's about to jump out of my chest. What I'm doing is crazy, but I couldn't stop myself from doing it. And when I got Boston back on the lead, I felt like I was going to collapse, because so much adrenaline running through my body. And I got back from the walk and I went, this is not okay. I was feeling really fragile, and the sort of little niggly bits that were leading up to it over the previous couple of weeks, I just went, you know what? I'm just not feeling okay. So my go-to was, and this is kind of what I want to share. I was sort of thinking about it, and it's a weird thing. Even as I was going through it, it's like I'm going through this, I'm experiencing it, I'm observing myself experiencing it, and I kind of want to capture it in the moment to be able to help other people who might be going through similar things, if I can in some way help them to navigate their journeys as well. So it was kind of this multi-layered processing, and it was good for me, because it allowed me to process it in a very cool way as well. So I guess my go-to is when I'm normally in a bit of a funk. I sit and think about, well, what's going on? What's really going on? And so I really went turbocharged journaling around this and really asking that question, what is it that I need to know about what's happening here? What is it that I really need to know? And it was because those feelings of, if I don't do something, I'm really going to, it's not going to end very well. I'll end up getting very sick. So when I was doing my journaling, that's the sort of stuff that came forward for me, is that, writing out all the stuff that I was going on in my life. It's like, oh, I can see why I'm exhausted. And really, what I've done over the years is, this isn't just the last couple of weeks exhaustion. This is residual. This is about, after my mum passed away when I was young, it took me probably 10 years before I really even did anything about processing that. So that in itself, there was a lot of stored and stuckness from that. I've done a huge amount of work on that over the years, but what the messages were coming forward for me now were, that's where the Jenga Tower analogy came from my journaling. It's like I have been building this Jenga Tower of life, and I have been healing and, making huge changes in my life, but there've been a lot of it has been at that surface level and that medium level. And it was what was revealing to me now is there is still a lot of unresolved trauma. And I haven't really resonated with that word trauma until very recently. Now, that might seem like a really obvious thing for people to see when they, to think about when they hear my story. Mum passed away the day before my 12th birthday, and we had no counselling at all, got on with life, and it was a traumatic event. But I've never really associated this linking with trauma, unresolved trauma. And so what's come forward for me, and this is not a diagnosed thing by any means, but it's that post-traumatic stress that I'm experiencing. And the Jenga Tower is wobbly because things are starting to come to the surface now. It's almost like there's been lots of little things. I've healed a lot of it, but there's been other things building on top of that. I haven't fully healed all of those, and they build on top. And then the Jenga Tower becomes more fragile and more wobbly the higher it gets. So the more birthdays I have, on one hand, I'm feeling, in a really great place in life, but there's been this fragility to it. And it's that linking with some of the unresolved trauma. And so the triggers, the trigger with Bosti and the other dog the other day, it wasn't about what was going on. It was all this stuff that was bubbling. And I would say not even bubbling. It was fucking rocketing to the surface. And, maybe for people in their lives, you might not have the trauma, or you might, but if all these things are mounting up in life, and they might just seem small and insignificant at the time, but they end up snowballing. And it's almost like there's just one little thing that is the trigger of it. So that one, and I know myself, I'm gratefully, I have a lot of tools at my hand to be able to deal with things. And I'm very, very self-aware. This felt really, really different. So journaling, absolutely. And I got some, just from that question, what is it that I need to know about what's going on? And it flowed. I listened and it flowed. And when I had, and there's one bit here going, I'm teetering on a breakdown. I have a feeling if I don't do something, I'm going to get really sick. And I felt that I really felt that. The cold sore, the gammy cold sore was just like this niggly little, like, do something. And I had this feeling if I don't do something, it's going to turn into, real shitty ickiness. So journaling, absolutely my go-to. Then what I do, my go-to for helping me just keep myself in balance is energy healing. And so my first order after the journaling was an emergency appointment with my energy healer. And the beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous Sarah Jensen. If anybody, I know a lot of the listeners know her. If you don't, Sarah Jensen from Flourish Healing is just a rock star healer. So she works some really amazing magic, helping me to release a lot of that rawness that I was feeling and that the things that have been building up. So she helped me to get into a state out of that like panic state, just to be able to get back into a sense of balance, and also to be able to help me to create a game plan to keep things afloat going forward. So that was my go-to, and I've had a couple of sessions with Sarah. Next, to get me back on, my life back on track, to-do list was a checkup with my medical practitioner. Because at Field, I thought if there's something, there could be something even, quite sinister going on. So my medical practitioner is a Chinese health practitioner. And so a series of acupuncture, massage, and traditional Chinese massage, and also Chinese herbs. That was about getting me my energy back in balance, and also if there was any sort of physical things that were happening. Very much what came through was, yes, I was completely way out of whack, and spleen. I don't know a huge amount about that, but spleen and lungs and things. So I'm on a series of treatments there that is just helping me to just get back in balance. One thing that really made a big difference to opening up completely with myself, this honesty about, I don't feel okay. I don't feel okay. I have felt that previously, maybe not to this kind of level, but I've kind of just been strong. Just get in there. That's my MO. My go-to is just, just get in, deal with it, and you'll be fine. I didn't feel like I was going to be fine. So I went to my beautiful coach and gorgeous girlfriend, Susie Joseph. Susie, if you're listening, love you to pieces. And just opened up. And when I said those words, I don't feel okay. Oh my gosh. And you can even hear it in my voice now. The emotion with it, it was this release that it was like the floodgates opened up. The emotional floodgates opened up. And when I said those words aloud, and I said, I don't feel okay, it released a lot, but it also I was just like, oh my God, what does that mean? Am I really going to have this breakdown? But it was interesting to even just reflect on it now. And this is real-time stuff. Like, I'm working through this at the moment as well. So those words, even as I say them now, I don't feel okay. Actually, I do feel okay now. But reflecting on when I said those words that I don't feel okay, it came from a really deep part of me. Excuse me. And if anybody here is not feeling okay, having that place, even just admitting that to yourself, is the first part, or I don't know if it's the first part, it's part of the healing. But admitting it out loud and having that safe place. I mean, Susie's my go-to coach, friend, confidant. so many things to me, but it was that safe place. I didn't want any. Suze knew exactly. I didn't need strategies. I didn't need somebody to say, oh, you'll be fine. You always get out of a funk. You know what to do. I just needed somebody to hold space for me and for me to come up with my own process around it. And it was a garbly, oh my God, it was a garbly process, but it was such a, so I guess the thing about admitting to myself and somebody else witnessing that as well, to say I don't feel okay. And then that opened up, conversations with the family, and just kind of going, yeah, I'm actually feeling really weird at the moment. It's different. Just need you to be there, need you to be aware of it. As well. I rested. For those of you who know me, rest is not, I have peaceful night's sleep, absolutely. I'm not good at really, really resting though. So I gave myself permission to rest and to take the pressure off myself for so many things. Like there were emails coming into my inbox, and I'm normally really responsive, like really super responsive. And there were emails there that I just went, you know what, they can wait. They can wait, and they have waited. And the people have been, of course, they've been completely fine with it. It's my pressure that I've put on myself. I gave myself permission just to do nothing, just to hang and do nothing. I got out in nature, I meditated, I relaxed. And after this really solid period of reflection, and I would say turbocharged self-care, it was not the usual have a mani-pedi, go get a new do, and catch up with a coffee for a girlfriend. This was next level self-care, which was very cool. I was ready for that. Led me up to the week, this time last week, where I've been studying spiritual psychology for the past 2 years, and last week was our 4-day final practicum. So it was kind of like bringing everything together. It was a reflection piece, kind of an assessment piece as well. But it was the whole 2 years crammed into 4 days, and it was intense. I knew it was going to be intense anyway. It's through an American university, the University of Santa Monica, and I'm in Australia. The time zone difference. So I've been getting up at 2 a.m. once a month for a full weekend, once a month for the past 2 years to study. And it's a 10-hour day, and it's online. And it's just that physicality of it is been draining. The content has taken us. Oh my God. If anybody wants to find out about it, it has been just so amazing to get tools and resources around just helping me in my own personal growth and development, but I can incorporate into my my coaching and my programs. It's taken me to a whole different level, and it's taken my coaching to a whole different level as well. So anyway, back to this. So this, I was ready for this really intense 4-day practicum, and it was just nothing short of profound. And everything that had been bottling up in me in the maybe couple of weeks leading up to this practicum, I can now see the timing of everything, that it was coming to a surface so I could work with it during this practicum and just really, really go deep and just heal from it. And hopefully my intention was to actually bring a lot of this stuff to completion. I'd identified what was going on, and through the practicum to be able to bring a lot of it to completion. And do you know what? It was no doubt one of the most powerful experiences that I've had, just a transformative experience that I've encountered in a really long time. And I've done a lot of work on myself and through my studies and my coaching, and been exposed to a lot of stuff. So I've had some really profound experiences, but this just was next level, mind-blowing, transformational stuff. And the stuff coming to a surface has just been a necessary step on my healing journey and helping me to move forward. So I can look back and see that feeling of the Jenga Tower in the last couple of weeks, and I've never used that Jenga Tower analogy. I've never felt like everything was going to come crashing down on me. It kind of, as I've said, it was feeling different this time. And so, it was, that impending collapse. But it has brought just an unexpectedly wonderful experience where I've got to dismantle that fragile scaffolding and rebuild my tower in a way that is just so much stronger. And it's been a chance to just heal and grow in ways that I really haven't imagined possible. So, and it's bringing me where I am today. And it's in a completely different place to where I was even at the beginning of this. So the next step, I guess, for me, so that's kind of just what's been going on, some of the strategies around how I've been working through that. And I guess some of the outcomes or some of the changes and the transformation that's happening is and through that massive action. Like, I took massive action. I've taken massive action with this. The feelings were intense, so I kind of threw everything that I had at it because I knew that that's what it needed. So through a range of those healing practices and that holistic approach that I use, and combining all the tools that I have at my disposal, and that's from reaching out to others. Like, I can't go through this all on my own. So I reach out to others, and I have my team of people that I reach out to. So I reach out to them, and I also have my resources that I use myself. So that's my kind of approach. And it was about being really, really honest and raw and vulnerable and allowing myself to go, what the fuck's going on? And I am absolutely amazed by how much peace, ease and flow has come back into my life in such a short time. The practicum was a week ago. I was had consultations with that acupuncture, massage, energy healer. So that was kind of like the week or so leading up. So that's only like 2 weeks ago, in all honesty. And I'm absolutely amazed at how much peace I have in my mind. That Jenga tower that once seemed really fragile and ready to topple feels really sturdy, like really sturdy now. And I've moved from feeling fragile and unstable and on that brink of collapse, burnout. We hear a lot of women saying, burnout, they're doing so much. I was on the brink of that. And, now I've just reconnected with that beautiful inner strength and serenity. Oh my God, that feels so good. The serenity, my mind, from moving from that worry and overthinking and sense of dread to being peaceful and calm and relaxed is really, and I don't want to undervalue miracles, but it's been huge, 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 huge. And the transformation has really been remarkable. And it really brings home the truth to me that we all have the resources within us to create profound and meaningful change, and in a short period of time as well. So if you are feeling any of what I've related to or anything, you can actually move through it quickly if you're prepared to put the work in and to do stuff. So I went really deep to explore what was going on, and I was robustly honest about how I was feeling. And as I said, by admitting how I was feeling, that then helped me to open the floodgates. And I truly listened to myself. So some of the shifts that I've made is I was able to surrender and accept what's been happening. And for me, surrendering has always been like, how do you do surrendering? Like, how do you do surrendering? But I got to a place where I just went, I need to just accept what is happening here. I can't control this. The controlling of it. I also got this other vision coming forward for me. Like whenever I move, we've got old-fashioned sprinkler at our house. And when the sprinkler's going, instead of me turning the hose off and moving it, I just bend the hose and I kink the hose, and that stops the flow of water. Then I put the sprinkler in the new spot and then unblock the flow, and it flows beautiful. So what a very strong vision for me was that I've been blocking my flow. I've been putting so much pressure on myself about so many things that it's like folding the hose. I've been blocking the pressure. So I just, released that pressure. For me, that's the surrendering, the letting go. And that led me to uncover some key limitations that have been buried deep in my subconscious. A lot of the limitations I've been aware of, but through some of the practices, especially that we went through at the practicum, it allowed me just to uncover some of these limitations that have been buried, I reckon, for lifetimes, not even just this lifetime, but for lifetimes. And so through some very, very cool techniques, which probably just too involved for me to talk to you about here. And it's not even just one particular thing, but through a series of very, very, very cool techniques. I was able to release that grip, that all those limitations that have been having on me. And it feels so good. Oh my God, it just feels so good. I've let go of so much self-judgment and that inner voice, that inner critic of not being enough around things. And one of those very strong limitations that's been running through my lineage, my lifetime, and lots of lifetimes, I think, previously, has been fear. And it's been able to have just released some of that fear around things that, and it's just unsubstantiated fear. I remember my rowing coach, I can't remember if I've shared this with you before or not, but my rowing coach said to me many years ago when I was learning to row in a single, and I'd had all these, experiences of falling out of boats and hurting myself and, humiliation, blah, blah, blah. He said, Catherine, what are you actually frightened of? He said, you can swim. We're in a safe area. If anything happens, I've got you. He said, what are you actually frightened of? And I said, I'm actually frightened of being frightened. And it was just this fear running through. And it was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So anyway, surrendered to the stuff, went through some really cool techniques. And oh my gosh, there was one in particular. This blew my mind, like blew my complete mind. It was one of the processes we used. And I was just sharing about how I was feeling, and I got really dizzy in my head as though I was almost going to faint. I got dizzy in my head and I felt my brain shifting in my head, and it was recalibrating. It actually did it was a visceral feeling that I got where my brain and my neurology was recalibrating. And it was interesting that the woman that was facilitating that process happened to be a neurobiologist, which is interesting in itself. And we have since chatted, and she has talked about, some of the responses that I had after mum passing away have been patterns through life. We're talking about some of my neural responses, and just she's given me some very cool techniques to help to reestablish some of those neural pathways. So that absolutely excites me. But anyway, my mind went, it's almost like all the busyness and the overthinking and the stress that I held in my head just melted away. It just melted, and my mind went clear. It went clear. It went quiet. It went peaceful. And oh my God, it felt absolutely amazing. And it continues to feel amazing. I can't even get into that busyness in my mind state that I had before, because I've been able to clear all of that out, which has just, oh my God, so very, very cool. Very, I don't know if you can hear that in my voice, but that was just so cool. And there's a whole range of other things that I've been able to shift. I've really reconnected back with my authentic self. I've got back on. I think what was happening is, I was getting a little bit taken off my path and, detours. And so I've been able to just get really back in alignment with my authentic self. And, why am I sharing all of this with you? I'm passionate. I am absolutely passionate about helping others to live their best lives. And I wanted to share my story, that it's not always full of rainbows and sparkles and glitter, even though I really like that part, but it's not always about that we all go through wobbly times, and sometimes really dark times, myself included. And through sharing what I'm going through right now in this present real-time moment, I want people who are facing, something similar, or, can relate to any of this, or if they feel that they're stuck in any ickiness, if they've ever felt that they've been stuck in ickiness, to know that things can change, and they can change really quickly and really profoundly. So if you're making big changes, or you want to make sure that your Jenga Tower doesn't crumble, and you want to be able to have your Jenga Tower stand really strong, you can actually have that. And I would really encourage you to pay attention to if anything just feels different in your life about what's going on, to explore what that could be, and to either work through it yourself, like I have. If any of the listeners, I know a lot of the listeners are members of the Happiness Lounge, but I share a lot of resources in my membership club, the Happiness Lounge, that are tools. I'm all about helping other people with really practical tools. So there's a whole range of things in the membership lounge that you can access that can help you through here. I've got a beautiful free resource, 5 tips for being the fabulous, confident woman that you were born to be. There's really practical information there that can help you to navigate through changes as well. And it's not always about, oh, my life's shit. It's about life's good. I want it to be even better. So there's resources there. And it's also about seeing if you can work through it on your own, but quite often you need somebody else to help you through the process. I've got my healing, my transformation team. I would love to be part of yours. I would love it if you have anything that, even if you want to catch up for a cuppa and just talk about how, or if I might be able to help you, I would absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, because there is so much clearness and just love and oodles of really cool resources. Oh my God. So, blow my mind techniques, cleared my mind techniques, but blow my mind techniques. So I would love to be part of your transformation team, your healing team. But even if there's just one thing out of listening to what I've shared, that we don't have to be these super women that have got our shit together all the time, because that's just not real. That is just not real. It's how can we certainly move forward with life and move to the next level, but it's the dance of life. And if you are recognizing anything that's wobbly in your life, do something about it. Don't let it be the niggly little sign that you don't pay attention to, because it possibly will end up being something much more severe. So anyway, probably a bit rambly, probably a bit long, but that's where I'm coming from the bottom of my heart. And I feel freaking amazing. And I would love you to too. So hugs and big, big happiness. I'll see you. Bye.